You're choosing where to land in Canada, or thinking about moving provinces after you arrive. And the question every new PR asks is, which province is actually best for my finances? The answer is not simple, because Ontario, BC, and Alberta all have very different tax rates, cost of living, housing markets, job markets, and government benefits. And the best province for you depends entirely on your income, your family situation, and your long-term goals. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to break down the full financial picture, taxes, housing, costs, benefits, so you can make the most informed decision of your Canadian journey. Let's go. Your choice of province is one of the most significant financial decisions you'll make as a new permanent resident. At $100,000 of income, an Alberta resident pays approximately $2,200 less in combined income tax than an Ontario resident, and this advantage widens at higher incomes. Sales tax is also dramatically different. Alberta charges only 5% GST with no provincial sales tax, while Ontario charges 13% HST and BC charges 12% combined. Housing costs in Vancouver and Toronto are among the highest in the world, while Calgary remains dramatically more affordable. Your province is not just a postal code, it is a wealth-building decision worth tens of thousands of dollars over your first 5 years. Let's get into the actual numbers. At $100,000 of income, BC has the lowest provincial income tax at $6,549, followed by Ontario at $7,041, and Alberta at $10,000. So at first glance, BC looks like the winner, but that's not the full picture. Alberta has no provincial sales tax at all. Ontario charges 13% HST, BC charges 12% combined GST plus PST, and Alberta only charges the 5% federal GST. If you spend $40,000 a year on taxable goods and services, you save $3,200 a year on sales tax in Alberta compared to Ontario. Add that to the income tax comparison and Alberta becomes very competitive at mid-range incomes. At higher incomes above $150,000, Ontario's provincial top rate of 13.16% is significantly lower than BC's top rate of 20.5%, making Ontario considerably cheaper for high earners. The crossover happens around $140,000 to $150,000. Housing is the factor that most often overrides everything else in the province comparison. In Vancouver, the average home price in 2026 is around $1.2 million. In Toronto, it's approximately $1.05 million. In Calgary, it's around $620,000, and in Edmonton, about $430,000. The difference in monthly mortgage payments between a Calgary home and a Vancouver home at the same down payment percentage is roughly $1,600 a month. That's $19,200 a year. And Alberta's advantage goes even further. Alberta has no land transfer tax. While an Ontario buyer might pay $15,000 or more in land transfer taxes on a median-priced home, an Albertan pays only a nominal land title registration fee, typically under $1,000. For any new PR whose primary goal is to own a home in Canada within 5 to 10 years, Alberta's housing affordability represents an enormous advantage. Beyond income and housing, your job market matters enormously, because the best province financially is the one where you can earn the most in your field. Ontario, centered on Toronto, is Canada's financial capital and has the most diverse economy. BC, centered on Vancouver, has become a major global tech hub. Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple all have large offices in Vancouver. Tech salaries in Vancouver are often $10,000 to $20,000 higher than equivalent roles in Calgary. Alberta is Canada's energy province, but post-diversification, business services and tech are growing rapidly in Calgary. Trades workers in Alberta are in very high demand and often earn more than their equivalents in Ontario. On provincial benefits, BC's PharmaCare is the strongest drug coverage among the three. It provides universal coverage that reduces drug costs for all BC residents based on income. Alberta has no universal drug program. On childcare, BC has the lowest average regulated childcare rates at around $15 a day. On settlement services, the support network for newcomers arriving in Ontario, particularly in the Greater Toronto Area, is the most extensive in Canada. Let me give you a concrete scorecard based on your income level. If you earn between $40,000 and $70,000, Alberta is generally the best financial choice. Lowest total tax burden, affordable housing, and no provincial sales tax mean your take-home dollar goes furthest. If you earn between $70,000 and $130,000, BC actually wins on provincial income tax in this range. Alberta remains competitive because of housing and no PST. Ontario is solid but middle ground. If you earn above $130,000, Alberta becomes the strongest again. Its flat provincial rate and no PST combined with affordable housing create a powerful wealth-building advantage. Above $150,000, BC's top rate of 20.5% is significantly higher than Ontario's 13.16%, making Ontario cheaper than BC for high earners. Alberta has no provincial sales tax, saving a family $1,600 to $4,000 a year. It has no land transfer tax, saving $15,000 to $30,000 on a home purchase. Its small business tax rate is just 2% on the first $500,000 of income, the most tax-friendly province for self-employed PRs and incorporated business owners. Housing is 40 to 50% cheaper than Toronto or Vancouver, and it's the fastest-growing province by population in Canada from 2024 to 2026. The cautions: Alberta's economy is meaningfully tied to oil prices. Its newcomer settlement network is smaller than Ontario's. Cultural community diversity is larger in Toronto and Vancouver. And Alberta has no provincial drug plan. Here is the practical decision framework. Choose Ontario if your job is in Toronto's finance or diverse industry ecosystem, or if you have family or community connections there. Ontario's settlement services and cultural communities are unmatched. Choose BC if you're in tech or software engineering and earn between $70,000 and $150,000, and if you want the lowest provincial income tax in that range plus PharmaCare and lower childcare costs. Choose Alberta if buying a home is your primary goal, if you're in energy or trades, if you're self-employed or incorporated, or if you earn above $130,000 and want the lowest total tax and cost of living burden. As a permanent resident, you can move freely between any Canadian province at any time. Your PR status is federal. Many successful new PRs use a two-phase strategy: land in Ontario or BC for the newcomer network, get established, then move to Alberta after 1 or 2 years. Your provincial income tax for a given year is determined by where you live on December 31st. If you move from Ontario to Alberta in November, you file as an Alberta resident for the full year. Time your move strategically. Here's the summary. Federal income tax is identical everywhere, only provincial tax and benefits differ. BC has the lowest provincial income tax at $100,000, but Alberta wins on total tax burden including no PST. Alberta housing is 40 to 50% cheaper, the biggest factor for homebuyers. Ontario has the strongest newcomer settlement network. BC has the best family benefits. And you can move freely between provinces. Consider the two-phase strategy. If this helped you make or validate your province decision, hit like and subscribe to PR Wealth Lab. Comment below. Which province did you choose, or are you still deciding? Tell me your situation and I'll give you my honest recommendation.